What's up, gamers? Johnny Rose here from Game Trade Media, and I'm here with the one, the only, Mr. Kurt Covert from Smirk and Dagger. Kurt, pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks so much.
Tell me, what kind of monstrosity of ecological devastation do we have here in front of us?
Well, correctly said. Yeah, this is the Spill. It is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players, and it features, as you can see, this oil rig dice tower that stands at the center of the board. It's a 4-way dice tower, which is pretty unique. And every single turn, more oil dice are going to be dropping down the well and spreading into the ocean. So our job is to sail the perimeter, contain the spill, remove what oil we can from the water, and save the sea life to win. That's really the idea.
Oh, wow.
So, but I mean, the feature is the oil rig. So here are 4 dice. Go ahead and drop those down the chute, if you would. Now they will spill. Wow, perfectly
evenly distributed.
Yep. So kind of randomly into the 4 quadrants of the board. And interestingly, what happens is the number that you roll goes into that quadrant, into the matching sector of that number. So here, this one has just landed in the 5 space and now contaminated
That poor
a
stingray.
sea ray. The 3 has come over here and dropped right there. This 5, oh, we've got 2 sea rays in trouble.
Oh, no.
Okay, and this 2 is over here. Okay, so now that happens at the beginning of every single turn.
Okay.
So now it's your job to sail around and try to go to the biggest problem on the board and correct what you can.
Okay.
So you've got a number of action points to help you do that. Now, one action point you can use to move your boat around the board, and you can kind of like cruise the whole distance, but you can move up to 2 spaces every time you move. So in this case, I really want to help that ray.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move my boat 1.
Okay.
Now, in order to save the ray, I am going to have to get the oil out of the water first. So now, for 1 point, I can push it back into the bag. However, what I really want to do is I want to remove it completely from the game. Cleaning up the oil is important. That, however, costs 3 action points, and I only get 4 action points a turn. So that's almost my entire turn to do that. I might decide to do that. As long as the oil's not sharing the spot with the ray, it's safe for now.
Okay.
Unless if another oil hit there, that would be bad. But I could then remove that oil from the game. But let's say I'm just going to push it back into the bag to give myself the maximum number of options. Because let's say I'm really concerned about saving those rays. I might say, well, you know what? I can save a healthy animal for 1 action point. Contaminated is 2. So this will take the balance of my turn in order to spend the 2 to put that in the saved area on the board.
Okay.
And then the next person would drop dice and they would go to the next place. But unfortunately, this ray over here
He's looking pretty bad.
right, still sharing a spot with oil, and therefore this ray goes into sickbay. Now, sickbay is one of the losing conditions, and this is a game where you win by not losing every single turn.
Okay.
So one of the ways that you're going to lose is if 1 animal of all the 6 types is in sickbay at the end of your turn, that's game over.
Okay.
That's a loss. 3 of a type of an animal is also a loss. Or the other thing that's going to happen is eventually, as these dice continue to pour down, let's say this was a 2 over here, you'll notice this is now a column of 3 dice.
Okay.
Now that is called a spill out. The spill out is a dangerous condition for 2 reasons. 1, it's what escalates the spill out tracker. This is what determines how many dice we drop at the beginning of every turn.
Okay.
So as this continues to go up, you're dropping 3, 4, 5 dice a turn. You want
oil
that
is starting to leak out faster.
exactly.
And faster.
So you want to avoid that. But the other problem is that if you ever have 6 or more spillouts around the board at the end of your turn, that's also game over. So it's a hard game to win. You're constantly racing to the problem points on the board, trying to effect repair. Now, how do you win? So one way is there are 64 dice in the bag. If they all drain out of the bag and you have not lost, you have eked out the narrowest of wins possible. But that's not your goal. Your goal is actually to stop the flow of dice.
Okay.
So there are 9 win condition cards in the game. So that'll be variable from game to game. And they're scaled difficulty. But this one, there are 3 items that you have to accomplish. So in this case, we've got save 3 contaminated animals, remove 12 oil dice from the game, and save 2 full sets of marine life. Now, if you can do all 3 of those things without losing, then the dice stop and we have won the game.
Ah, okay. So does each player have its own win condition card,
No.
or does this go for all
This
the
is
players?
for the, yeah, so it's fully cooperative, and quite honestly, it's kind of like a reverse tower defense game.
Okay.
It's going to give people a pandemic-like feel. It's got a very much, has that kind of tension to the game, but I think because it's so intuitive, you see the danger develop on the board. It's very obvious, where I should go and what we need to take care of. So it's a little bit more approachable for a broader audience, perhaps. But now the other thing that you'll be doing is as you save animals and take oil out, you're going to be gaining cubes to actually power up a bunch of resource cards as well.
Okay.
Now, every time you do that, you're going to say, okay, well, which of these resources that we selected at the beginning of the game, which do we want to power up? And do we want the cheap and easy thing, or do we want to invest in the better version of that card? So those are some of the conversations that we're having as we try to strategize together how we're going to win this thing.
Okay.
But it is a tense game. It goes down to the final drop almost every game. It lasts almost precisely 50 minutes every time you play. It's just, it's got an amazing tension and drama to the game. So much so that we've had people who are professionals in the oil cleanup industry who have seen the game. They're some of our backers when we did the Kickstarter, and they have remarked, obviously it's abstracted, it's intended to be fun, and it is, but they're like, it's amazing how well it represents what we do for a living in terms of how we deal with oil spills and the types of things that we end up facing.
So tell me a little bit about the different player cards there. I see some different player cards that have not only different colors, but different icons on them.
These are the same. These are weather effects tokens. The other thing is there are 4 blue weather dice, and when they drop out, they're going to ruin your day. So it may be harder to do some things, and these tokens will show you, temporary effects on your character. But they are all asymmetric characters, so each has a unique ability that they do best. So this guy is really great at removing dice from the board more efficiently. This one is really good. The Marine Vet, they can rescue a healthy animal for free or a contaminated animal for a 1-. So all of them have some great abilities. The Sea Captain, her ability is that unlike just going 1 or 2, when they move, they can first transport their ship into an adjacent sector and then move.
Oh, wow.
So they can really kind of get around the board quickly.
So each player is not relegated to their own little section. They can actually go all the way around.
They can go around, yeah. So you might all end up in a danger spot, but then of course you leave yourself open
to another
area. And that's one of the things that's interesting. A lot of cooperative games can get bogged down with quarterbacking because someone has mathed things out and they have designed, if you don't do it this way, we're probably going to lose, right? This game, because of the random drop of the dice, you don't know where the oil is going to end up. You can talk about the odds. What do we think is going to be? What do we want to safeguard against? But there's no best move because you don't know where the next real danger point really is going to be.
I mean, when we rolled it, it was evenly distributed, but you may roll one where all 4 go into one section.
Absolutely
or
could.
2 or opposite sides. So.
Yeah.
And I love the design of the dice tower. I like how it's incorporated into being the oil rig. That is just very, very clever. I love that. So.
Yeah, and we didn't have time to set up. It's got stickers to even make it look more like an oil rig,
nice.
but we didn't have time to do that before we rolled. So.
And how many players can this play?
It plays 1 to 4.
1 to 4. Okay.
Yeah, and but there are always 4 specialists. So even if you're playing a solo game, you're still operating all 4 of the ships. Because you really need that kind of coverage around the board. True. Now that said, it's not a lot of heavy mental lifting, so that is not really difficult to do to manage that those 4 ships.
So what would you say is the age range for this? Like who can play this?
Right, we've got this for 10 plus.
10 plus, okay.
And we have included for educators a Common Core lesson plan. Wow. So it starts with, well, how do oil and water actually, mix or don't mix? What happens? And, everywhere up to, man's impact on the environment. So it's a kicking off point for conversations.
Yeah, a very good one at that. Now, when will this be available?
It is available right now.
Right now.
Yep, it's in stores on shelf waiting for you, so go and grab a copy.
And what is the price point for this?
The price point is $50.
50? That is not bad
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah.
And especially because of the fact you're not just getting a great dice game, but you're also getting something that has a really great table presence here.
Yeah.
So if people want to find more information on the spill or Smirk and Dagger in general, where can they go?
smirkanddagger.com or our Facebook page as well.
So you go there to find more information on Smirk and Dagger. And if you want to pick up the spill, be sure to stop by your friendly local game store.